Any questions?
How prepared do you feel just after playing these two joint practices, but not having the starters play in the preseason going into week one?
I think we feel prepared. Not only, the first game, you get a lot of time to prepare for your opponent, number one, and then those two joint practices, I give credit to not only our guys, but also Tennessee and Arizona to actually have two full practices, get the work in. I think it shows a lot of professionalism. Obviously, the staffs of those two teams to get that work in and get a lot of great work in 4 practices, where you see across the league there were a lot of practices that were canceled or stopped because of melees. So we feel really good with where we're at. We feel like we've got a good plan going forward, and we'll see what happens.
Wes, with Jordan and KJ, do you look at that as you want to have one guy who's out there when you're in a 2 wide receiver set, or can that be kind of situational depending on various factors?
Yeah, I think we have some personnel groupings where we kind of know who it's going to be, at least to start. But we do feel like if KJ's in and he needs a blow, and Jordan goes in a 2 receiver set, or if all of them are on the field, we feel good about them being able to execute any of those jobs interchangeably.
As Kevin mentioned Blake Brandell yesterday, how are you guys viewing his role right now?
Blake's just a good football player, and he's shown versatility. He's shown in a pinch to jump in and a tackle, but getting a lot of reps at both guard spots, and he's still working in a little bit at center. Just being able to be all those 3 interiors, but he just kind of gives you a comfort level because he does things the right way. He's a large man. Inside, you like to have those big kind of rectangular guards. You love those rectangle guys. And he's certainly one of those guys, and he loves ball. He's had a really good camp.
Are you looking to get him on the field, or are you just saying there's a comfort level there if he does need to?
I'm just saying if, you always want to feel good about who's going in the next at center, who's going in the next at guard, and who's going in the next at tackle, just because those things generally come up at some point during the season just with the nature of the physicality. So I feel really good about where he's at.
Wes, speaking of rectangles, but what about the giant circle that's in the middle of their defense, their nose tackle? It's a large, what do you think?
I like that, yeah. He is a circle. He's a very powerful circle. And they do a great job. They've traditionally had big fronts, and Todd Bowles has always kind of looked with his defenses for those very large fronts, and a lot of it's 5 on the line type stuff where you are getting some matchups on the center where they want a big nose there who can push the pocket, and there are times with protection calls where you can adjust with some of those things and get some help, but they do try to isolate him in the middle, and he's a force inside, and so I think the combination of several different things, run and pass, mixed with play action, all those types of things, just to keep guys like that off balance, because if it does become just a straight drop back game, and he's knowing that it's pass, it can be difficult.
What can he add in there if he plays? And then also the other guy's a high draft pick as well. It seems like they're a mixture of different strengths and body types.
Yeah, Cansey, just from his Pitt tape, obviously the quickness, explosiveness from that interior, he's got that interior pass rush ability. Hasn't practiced yet, so we'll see as we go here if he ends up playing. But he's certainly talented, but he is young, and we're not really sure his first game in the NFL, if he does play, how he'll perform. But we respect the talent.
Kirk was saying yesterday, he's reading a book by Navy SEAL, and he said the quote was, "No plan ever lasts past first contact with the enemy." That's obviously the perfect quote when it comes to an offensive attack. The fact that he's reading a Navy SEAL book right before the opener doesn't surprise anyone. But that mentality, when you see that from Kirk, that doesn't shock you. But what do you like about that? The fact that that's what he's reading and doing and being prepared for mentally as well.
Yeah, I think Kirk is always looking for avenues to get some sort of an edge, whether it's physically, whether it's scheme-wise in the game, or whether it's mentally as well. And, you know, I always liked the Mike Tyson version of that, which is everybody's got a plan until they get hit in the mouth. And, you know, which is kind of a similar mindset there. But yeah, Kirk is finding any edge he can possibly get, whether it's leadership, whether it's mindset going into a game, situationally. I mean, he's very aware of situations. He's always talking through something. Hey, you know, could we get to this? Could we do this? 2-minute drills. Like, he loves all that stuff, and you just love that from your quarterback. He's all in, and it shows.
Wes, how do you see Myles Gaskin fitting in?
You know, Myles, we've only had really a few days with Myles, but he's a guy he's played a lot of snaps, and he's shown that he can produce both in the run game and the pass game. So he's a pro right off the bat. I mean, you can tell he came in, he understands. It's just a matter of terminology and maybe a couple different tracks, the footwork, you know, from the backfield, the way that he's maybe been used to might be slightly different. But in the end, you know, wide zone is wide zone and tight zone is tight zone, and gap schemes, you know, he's got familiarity with all that type of stuff. It's just about terminology and then protections just being a little bit nuanced with each team. But he's doing well so far.
How much growth did you see from Nick Muse during training camp?
I think when you're talking about Nick Muse growth, it's kind of from the day he got here through this training camp. He's just continued to show that he's a good football player, and that he can be trusted to do a lot of roles. You know, when you're kind of in that third, fourth tight end spot, you're always looking for a guy who can. You might be a little better at one thing or the other, but you're looking for a guy who can fill in at either spot, kind of the Y spot or that F tight end spot. And he's shown that he can, you know, he can hold his own in line and as well as make some plays in the passing game. He's probably the most popular guy on our team, one of them. Everyone loves Nick Muse, and but he's got kind of a he's got a personality that you know, you worried at first that maybe he wasn't locked in, but when it comes to football, he's been really good, and he's gotten his body in a lot better condition since he's gotten here a year ago as well. So that's a credit to him.
Everyone talks about his personality. Is it just kind of funny? Is it what
It's
makes him special?
it's kind of goofy, kind of just weird, and I say that with love. I mean, I love Muse, and you know, like I said, he's just really well liked amongst the team, and he's genuine, he's himself, and I don't want him to change.
There was a story, I think last week in the Star Tribune, and it included the fact that the last play against the Giants from the playoffs is no longer in the playbook. Was that just part of the natural progression of off-season work on plays and scheme, or was there more of a karmic reason for that? If that's the case?
Well, I think especially when you're talking about like third down type plays throughout a season, you put things on tape and things evolve, and you find different ways, particularly when they're, you know, it's not all just straight cover 3 or quarters or whatever it is, and you're trying to find ways to attack the defense and get, you know, they play these 3 things predominantly, and we've got answers against all of them. That particular play we had but it wasn't necessarily like a training camp type play. And then I would also say I've been around a lot of play callers where we've had training camp plays that we put a lot of reps in, and then the quarterback throws a pick, and then the play never gets called again, because that's just in the mind of either the quarterback or the guy calling the play. So I don't think that's uncommon, but I wouldn't say that was one of our just core plays that we install.
What are you most looking forward to watch on Sunday just unfold that? Like
A Vikings win
Yeah.
would be nice. I'd love to see that unfold. But I just want to see it all come together. You know, I mean, these guys have put a lot of work in. We feel like we have a good football team, a good offense. But obviously we've got to go out and prove it. And we got to get all 11 working together and just kind of hitting on all cylinders. I'd like to be able to, have a run game, have some explosive passes, all those things, pick up some of their pressures on third down. We've certainly gotten enough work on pressures to where they've got their own stuff, but we should feel pretty confident going into this game.
Does Brian O'Neill look like he's ready to handle a full workload at this
Brian
point?
looks great. Yeah, he looks. I mean, I don't know how he did it, but I'd kind of mentioned before. But he came back, and it seemed like somehow mentally he had worked on some things and put it into use in practice that he wanted to improve on without those reps, those actual reps. Now he was working on the side a lot, but he looks really good. He feels good. We're happy.
Wes, how's the interior of the offensive line look to you, in particular against those joint practices when you got to see a little bit more of them?
These guys, they've been really impressive. Really, the continuity of having the three guys inside, the communication that goes on inside. Ed Ingram has been really, really good through camp. I just think he's going to continue to develop. You just see how powerful he can be in the run game, how he can anchor in the pass game. He's just been a really, really positive for us interior-wise. And then, Garrett and Ezra have also done some really good things. We've put in some different schemes. We've improved in the protection game. The nature of just having those guys together is going to help you always. From year to year, that communication is big. So we're happy with where they're at, and we just have to see how it plays out.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.